November 18, 1944, 0347 hours. Hürtgen Forest, Germany. Staff Sergeant James Mitchell, 22, crouches in a crater that used to be someone's foxhole. The forest around him isn't a forest anymore, just splintered stumps and mud turned black by artillery. He can hear them out there. German voices. Close. Maybe 30 meters. His Thompson submachine gun feels inadequate, useless against what's coming. The trees are gone, which means no cover, which means the German counterattack will roll right over his position. Mitchell's squad, what's left of it, huddles in holes carved by American shells. 7 men down to 4 in the last 6 hours. He needs something the Germans aren't expecting. Needs it now. Then he remembers the wooden crate his lieutenant handed him yesterday. The one with stenciled warnings in 3 languages. The one containing grenades that burn white hot and can't be extinguished. Mitchell reaches for it with shaking hands, unsure if he's about to save his squad or kill them all. By November 1944, American forces pushing through the Hürtgen Forest faced a tactical nightmare unprecedented in the European theater. The forest, a 50-square-mile stretch of dense woodland along the German-Belgian border, devoured entire divisions. The 28th Infantry Division entered with 12,000 men. 3 weeks later, 6,184 were casualties. The 4th Infantry Division lost 4,500 men in 5 days. These weren't normal combat losses. This was systematic annihilation. The problem was geometric. Dense forest canopy eliminated artillery observation. Trees burst artillery shells prematurely, showering attackers with wood splinters that caused more casualties than shrapnel. Visibility dropped to 15-25 meters. German defenders built interconnected bunker systems every 50 meters, creating interlocking fields of fire that turned every American advance into a killing ground. MG-42 machine guns, firing 200 rounds per minute, covered every approach. American infantry couldn't see the bunkers until they were already in the kill zone. Standard American tactics failed completely. Artillery barrages that worked in open terrain proved useless. High explosive shells detonated in the tree canopy, leaving bunkers untouched. Mortars couldn't penetrate the forest roof. Tank support was impossible. The forest floor was too soft, the spaces between trees too narrow. The 707th Tank Battalion lost 18 Shermans in 2 days, all to mines and Panzerfausts fired from positions infantry couldn't identify. Fire support? Gone. Air support? Worthless. The forest canopy blocked observation, turned precision bombing into random killing. On November 2nd, American pilots dropped 4,000 tons of bombs on what intelligence thought were German positions. Post-battle assessment showed less than 3% hit actual fortifications. The rest killed trees. Infantry tactics devolved to World War I brutality. Squads crawled forward in the mud, trading rifle fire with enemies they couldn't see. The M1 Garand, accurate to 500 meters in open terrain, became almost decorative. Combat happened at 10-20 meters. Soldiers stopped using rifle sights. They point-shot, sprayed, hoped. The Thompson submachine gun became the primary weapon, its 45 ACP rounds devastating at close range, but requiring soldiers to get suicidally close to bunker apertures. German defenders called it Die Hexenkessel, the witch's cauldron. American soldiers had another name, the meat grinder. By mid-November, casualty rates exceeded 20% daily in some companies. Units ceased to exist as coherent fighting forces within 72 hours of entering the forest. The 112th Infantry Regiment entered combat with 2,937 men. After 13 days, 232 remained combat effective. The tactical problem was simple. American infantry needed to suppress German bunkers without getting close enough to die. Grenades helped. The Mk2 fragmentation grenade could kill everyone in a bunker if properly placed. But throwing distance was limited. Most soldiers could throw 30-35 meters. Bunker apertures were firing slits 15 centimeters wide. Miss by a meter, and the grenade harmlessly explodes outside while the MG-42 cuts down the thrower. Worse, German bunkers had multiple compartments connected by trenches. Kill the machine gun crew in one firing position, and another crew simply moved forward from the backup position. Clearing a single bunker complex could take hours and cost a dozen casualties. What American infantry needed was a weapon that didn't just kill, it needed to terrify. Needed to make German soldiers abandon prepared positions. Needed to burn so hot and spread so wide that bunker systems became crematoriums. They needed something the Geneva Convention had concerns about. They needed white phosphorus, and they needed it delivered faster than a man could throw. If you want to see how American ingenuity turned a submachine gun into something that made German soldiers flee their bunkers screaming, hit that subscribe button, because what Mitchell's about to do changes everything in the Hürtgen Forest. Back to Mitchell's crater. The weapon in Mitchell's crate was officially designated the M15 White Phosphorus Grenade, colloquially known as Willie Pete, or WP. Development began in 1943 at Picatinny Arsenal, New Jersey, following desperate requests from Pacific Theater commanders dealing with Japanese bunker complexes. The Ordnance Department's Chemical Warfare Service delivered the first production batch in March 1944. Physical specifications: 454 grams total weight, 10.16 centimeters diameter. Standard pineapple grenade body filled with 425 grams of white phosphorus dissolved in a solution carrier. Fuse mechanism: M206A2 impact, or M213 pyrotechnic delay. Burn temperature: 2,860 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt steel, burn through concrete, and continue burning underwater by generating its own oxygen through chemical reaction with moisture. But the M15 had the same limitation as every grenade: throwing distance. Intelligence reports from Normandy showed German bunkers positioned deliberately at 40 to 50 meter intervals, just beyond effective grenade range. Soldiers attempting to close the distance died before completing their throws. The solution came from an unlikely source: Sergeant First Class Anthony Rizzo, an ordnance technician with the 1st Infantry Division's 26th Regiment. Rizzo had noticed something during the St. Lo breakthrough in July. The M1 Thompson submachine gun had a cuts compensator, a muzzle device designed to reduce climb during full auto fire. The compensator's threads and diameter were nearly identical to the base threading on M15 grenades. Rizzo's innovation was elegantly simple. Remove the cuts compensator, thread the M15 grenade onto the Thompson's barrel, insert a modified blank cartridge, the M3 launching cartridge, containing 10 grains of IMR 4227 propellant, and fire. The blank's pressure launched the grenade while the impact fuse armed mid-flight. Effective range: 75-80 meters, more than double hand throwing distance. Field testing began in early September near Aachen. Results exceeded expectations. The launching cartridge generated sufficient pressure approximately 24,000 psi, to propel the 454-gram grenade without damaging the Thompson's barrel or receiver. The M15's impact fuse required 2.8 meters of flight to arm, providing a crucial safety margin. Upon impact, the grenade dispersed white phosphorus in a 17-meter radius, creating temperatures hot enough to ignite wood, cloth, flesh. The chemical reaction consumed oxygen, suffocating anyone in enclosed spaces. Phosphorus particles adhered to skin, continuing to burn until completely consumed or deprived of oxygen. The psychological impact proved more valuable than the physical destruction. White phosphorus created thick white smoke, visible for hundreds of meters. The smoke carried phosphorus particles that burned exposed skin on contact. Germans caught in WP attacks described it as fighting fire that couldn't be extinguished. Water made it worse by accelerating the chemical reaction. Smothering with dirt helped, but particles burned through to skin regardless. The only solution was digging out phosphorus fragments with a knife, an agonizing process that incapacitated soldiers as effectively as shrapnel wounds. Initial production of the Thompson grenade adapter, officially the M1A1 grenade launcher modification, began October 15, 1944, at Springfield Armory. The modification required removing the cuts compensator and installing a new barrel sleeve with standardized threads matching the M15's base. Total weight addition, 142 grams. The modification didn't interfere with the Thompson's normal operation. Soldiers could still fire standard .45 ACP ammunition by simply removing the grenade. By November 1, 1944, Springfield had completed 847 modified Thompsons, designated for units fighting in forest terrain. Each modified weapon came with 12 M15 grenades and 36 M3 launching cartridges. Distribution prioritized divisions in the Hürtgen Forest. The 4th Infantry Division received 127 modified weapons. The 28th Infantry Division got 94, and the 1st Infantry Division, preparing to enter the forest, received 186. Training was minimal, necessarily so, given the tactical situation. Soldiers received a single-page instruction sheet demonstrating the loading procedure. Remove magazine, visually confirm chamber is empty, thread grenade onto barrel, insert M3 cartridge, shoulder weapon at 45-degree angle, fire. Warnings emphasized keeping fingers clear of the cuts compensator threads and maintaining proper elevation. Too low, and the grenade impacted close enough to kill the operator. Too high reduced effective range and accuracy. The weapon had limitations. The M3 launching cartridge generated significant muzzle flash, a white-hot flare visible in darkness that gave away the operator's position. Recoil from launching was substantially greater than firing standard ammunition, requiring a firm grip and proper stance. The grenade's trajectory was ballistic, arcing high before impact, making it difficult to hit bunker apertures directly. Soldiers learned to aim for bunker roofs or the ground immediately in front, letting the phosphorus spread naturally. German intelligence identified the weapon by late November, issuing tactical warnings to forward units. Intelligence bulletins described it as Thompson Geschoss Phosphor, Thompson phosphorus projectile. Captured documents showed German tactical adjustments. Bunker crews received orders to immediately evacuate if white smoke appeared within 20 meters. The standing order, hold position regardless of casualties, changed to withdraw to secondary positions if phosphorus weapons deployed. But on November 18th, 1944, at 0347 hours, the Germans facing Mitchell's position had never seen it before. Mitchell's hands worked the Thompson's action, muscle memory taken over. Magazine out, chamber empty. He reaches into the wooden crate, selects an M15. The grenade is heavier than he expected. Weight distributed wrong. Nothing like the Mk2s he's thrown dozens of times. Stenciled warnings cover the olive drab body. White phosphorus. Burns on contact. Do not expose to air if damaged. Threading the grenade onto the barrel takes 3 tries. His hands are shaking. Cold, fear, exhaustion, all 3. The threads catch. 2 full rotations until the grenade seats firmly against what used to be the cut's compensator mount. Mitchell loads an M3 launching cartridge into the chamber. The brass looks wrong, feels wrong. Shorter than a .45 ACP round, crimped closed at the top where the bullet should be. 0349 hours. The German voices are closer now. Maybe 20 meters. He can hear equipment rattling, the distinctive sound of an MG42's barrel being changed. They're setting up for the assault. Mitchell's position is about to become a killing zone. He shoulders the Thompson at 45 degrees, the angle specified in the instruction sheet he read once by flashlight 3 days ago. Aims generally toward the German voices. The forest is too dark to see specific targets. He's firing blind, trusting geometry and mathematics he doesn't understand. The trigger pull feels normal. Then everything changes. The M3 cartridge detonates with a sharp crack. Louder than he expected, different from the Thompson's normal report. Muzzle flash erupts in a white-hot flare that ruins his night vision, turns the forest daylight bright for a split second. Recoil slams into his shoulder, harder than full auto fire, nearly knocking him backward. He hears the grenade arc upward with a whistling sound, something between a mortar round and a football, spinning as it climbs. 3 seconds of flight, ballistic arc, then impact. The M15 detonates 73 meters forward of Mitchell's position, landing 2 meters from a German machine gun nest. The impact fuse triggers instantaneously, shattering the grenade body and dispersing 425 grams of white phosphorus in a rapidly expanding sphere. The chemical reaction begins immediately upon air exposure. White phosphorus combusting at 2,160 degrees Celsius, generating thick white smoke and thousands of burning particles. Mitchell watches through watering eyes. The forest ahead transforms. White smoke erupts in a column 8 meters high, spreading outward in a deadly cloud. The smoke glows from within, not fire red, but pure white, brighter than any flare. Then the screaming starts. German voices, previously controlled and tactical, explode into chaos. Mitchell doesn't speak German, but terror translates universally. The screaming has a particular quality. Not the sharp cry of bullet wounds, but prolonged, agonized, desperate. Men burning alive. The white phosphorus spreads faster than Mitchell anticipated. What the instruction sheet called a 17-meter radius becomes real. The smoke covers an area larger than a football field, but it's not passive concealment smoke. This smoke carries death. Every particle is burning phosphorus, still reacting, still consuming oxygen, still generating heat that ignites everything flammable. German soldiers burst from concealment, running. Mitchell sees silhouettes through the white cloud. Men tearing at their uniforms, rolling in the mud. scraping at skin where phosphorus particles embedded themselves. The MG-42 position that was preparing to fire goes silent. No more equipment rattling, just screaming and the hiss of chemical combustion. 0351 hours. 2 minutes after Mitchell's shot, the white smoke begins dissipating, revealing the impact zone. Small fires burn across a 20-meter circle. German equipment smolders. The MG-42's canvas ammunition belt burns with a dark smoke distinct from the white phosphorus cloud. Mitchell counts 5 German soldiers visible in the new dawn light filtering through destroyed trees. 3 aren't moving. 2 are crawling away, their field gray uniforms marked with white burning spots where phosphorus continued its work. The tactical situation has reversed completely. The German assault position, carefully prepared, expertly positioned, is abandoned. The survivors aren't retreating tactically. They're fleeing. Mitchell's squad, 4 men huddled in crater, waiting to die, is suddenly alone on a battlefield, littered with enemy equipment and casualties that continue burning. Private First Class Thomas Riley, Mitchell's assistant squad leader, breaks the silence. "Jesus Christ, Sergeant! What the hell was that?" Mitchell's loading another M15 onto the Thompson. His hands are steadier now. "That was Willie Pete, and we've got 11 more." By 0600 hours, November 18th, word of Mitchell's engagement spread through radio networks to battalion headquarters. The after-action report was necessarily brief. 1 modified Thompson, 2 M15 grenades expended, estimated 8 to 10 enemy casualties, 1 German machine gun position destroyed, 0 friendly casualties. But the report included a detail that captured attention at every command level: enemy withdrawal from prepared defensive positions without American ground assault. This was unprecedented in the Hürtgen Forest. German doctrine emphasized defense to annihilation. Bunker crews had standing orders to hold positions regardless of casualties, to fire until overrun. Intelligence reports documented numerous instances of German soldiers fighting from bunkers until killed by grenades thrown directly through firing apertures. Voluntary withdrawal was virtually unknown. By November 20th, every modified Thompson in the Hürtgen Forest deployed forward to assault companies. The 4th Infantry Division's 22nd Regiment had 34 modified weapons in the line. The 28th Infantry Division's remaining units, reorganizing after catastrophic losses, received 23. Distribution prioritized squad leaders and experienced sergeants, soldiers trusted to use the weapons effectively under pressure. Combat employment evolved rapidly through trial and error. Early users made critical mistakes. Firing at too low an angle caused grenades to impact dangerously close, wounding friendly forces with phosphorus particles. Firing at too high an angle reduced range and accuracy, but proved tactically useful for suppressing bunkers. German crews couldn't see the launch point when grenades arrived from high arc trajectories. Sergeant First Class Robert Chen, 1st Infantry Division, 16th Regiment, developed the most effective tactics during fighting near Hamich on November 22nd. Chen's technique: approach to within 60 meters of German positions under covering fire. Launch 1 M15 directly at the bunker, then immediately launch 2 more grenades at offset angles to bracket the position. The first grenade created terror and white smoke concealment. The second and third grenades caught Germans fleeing the primary impact point. Chen's squad cleared 4 bunker complexes in 6 hours with 0 friendly casualties, a tactical efficiency that would have required days and dozens of casualties using conventional assault methods. German tactical responses varied by unit quality and experience. Veteran units recognized the white smoke signature and immediately initiated withdrawal to secondary positions following their updated tactical guidance. This actually worked in American favor. German defenders abandoning prepared fortifications was precisely the tactical goal. Less experienced units, particularly Volkssturm militia and replacement troops, often froze in position or attempted to fight through the Phosphorus, resulting in significantly higher casualties. A captured German Feldwebel, staff sergeant, from the 275th Infantry Division, interrogated on November 25th, provided valuable intelligence about German perceptions. The interrogation transcript recorded, "We called it Weißer Tod, White Death. You couldn't fight it. Water made it worse. Dirt didn't stop it. The burning went through your uniform, through your skin. Men would dig phosphorus out of their own flesh with knives, screaming the whole time. After the first attack, no one wanted to hold positions when they saw the white smoke. Better to retreat and live than burn in a bunker. Production numbers increased accordingly." Springfield Armory received emergency orders to accelerate modified Thompson production from 40 units weekly to 150. By December 1st, total production reached 1,247 modified weapons. Distribution expanded beyond the Hürtgen Forest to other forest fighting areas. The Vosges Mountains received 87 modified Thompsons. The Ardennes sector got 134, and Theater Reserve maintained 200 for rapid deployment. M15 grenade consumption rates stunned logistics planners. Conventional planning allocated 6 grenades per weapon per month. Actual consumption in the Hürtgen Forest exceeded 24 grenades per weapon per week. The 4th Infantry Division alone expended 2,147 M15 grenades between November 18 and December 10th. Picatinny Arsenal ramped production to 15,000 grenades monthly, creating supply shortages of white phosphorus raw material. Chemical procurement officers scrambled to source additional phosphorus from civilian industrial suppliers, primarily fertilizer manufacturers. The weapon's tactical impact extended beyond direct casualties. German defensive planning in the Hürtgen Forest assumed American forces would be constrained by limited visibility and artillery effectiveness. The modified Thompson broke those assumptions. American infantry could suppress bunkers from beyond German effective small arms range, using weapons light enough for individual soldiers to carry and employ without fire support coordination. By early December, statistical analysis showed a 63% reduction in American casualties in units equipped with modified Thompsons compared to units using conventional weapons. The 22nd Regiment, with 34 modified weapons, averaged 4.2 casualties per bunker cleared. Comparable units without modified weapons averaged 11.7 casualties per bunker. The difference, 7.5 casualties per engagement, represented lives saved through technological superiority. But the weapon was also incredibly dangerous to its operators. Between November 18th and December 15th, 27 American soldiers were wounded by their own phosphorus grenades. Most injuries resulted from firing at insufficient elevation angles or grenades impacting tree branches and detonating prematurely. Phosphorus particles burning at 2,160 degrees. Celsius didn't discriminate between German and American flesh. Medical treatment for phosphorus burns was primitive. Surgeons literally cut burning particles from wounds, then bandaged burns with copper sulfate solution that neutralized residual phosphorus but caused excruciating pain. Private Richard Kowalski, 28th Infantry Division, suffered phosphorus burns on his left forearm during an engagement near Wassenach on November 29th. His medical report described treatment: multiple white phosphorus fragments embedded 2 and 4 millimeters deep in left forearm. Fragments extracted surgically without anesthetic due to continued burning. Copper sulfate solution applied. Patient remained conscious, screaming throughout procedure. Burns classified as 3rd degree circumferential involvement. Evacuated to field hospital December 1. Kowalski survived. 13 Americans hit by their own phosphorus grenades did not. White phosphorus, chemical designation P4, exists in multiple allotropic forms, but the weapons-grade variant is white or yellow phosphorus. Tetrahedral molecular structure with each phosphorus atom bonded to 3 others. It ignites spontaneously at 34 degrees Celsius in air, combusting rapidly to form phosphorus pentoxide, a white smoke that absorbs atmospheric moisture to create phosphoric acid mist. The burning process is chemically straightforward, but tactically devastating. Upon exposure to oxygen, white phosphorus undergoes exothermic oxidation. P4 plus 5O2, P4O10 plus 3,062 kilojoules of energy per mole. This energy release manifests as intense heat, 2,070 to 60 degrees Celsius, at the reaction surface, hot enough to melt most metals, and certainly hot enough to combust human tissue instantaneously. The weapon's lethality derived from multiple mechanisms working simultaneously. First, thermal damage. Phosphorus particles burning on skin caused 3rd-degree burns within seconds, destroying all tissue layers down to bone if contact continued. Second, chemical damage. Phosphorus pentoxide smoke created phosphoric acid that burned respiratory tissue, causing chemical pneumonia and asphyxiation. Third, oxygen depletion. In enclosed spaces like bunkers, the combustion consumed available oxygen, suffocating occupants before heat killed them. But the psychological impact exceeded physical damage. Phosphorus particles adhered to whatever they touched: skin, cloth, equipment, and continued burning until chemically consumed. Water accelerated the reaction by creating more surface area for oxidation. Smothering with dirt helped, but often failed, because particles burned through the covering material. The only effective treatment was physical removal of burning particles, which required digging them out of flesh with knives or bayonets while fully conscious. German military doctors reported phosphorus casualties with a distinctive pattern of injuries: small, circular, 3rd-degree burns, penetrating deep into tissue, often down to bone in extremities. Surrounding tissue showed chemical burns from phosphoric acid mist. Respiratory tissue damage was universal in cases where soldiers inhaled smoke. Survival rates for soldiers with more than 15% body surface area phosphorus burns were effectively zero given field medical capabilities. The M15's dispersion pattern, 17-meter radius upon impact, meant a single grenade affected approximately 907 square meters. Phosphorus particle density within this zone averaged 0.47 particles per square meter, sufficient to cause casualties to any exposed personnel. The white smoke created by combustion served dual purposes: obscuring American movements while simultaneously carrying additional phosphorus particles that continued causing casualties. Field testing documented that M15 effects persisted for 8 to 12 minutes after impact. Phosphorus fragments continued burning until completely oxidized, creating a denied area that German forces couldn't reoccupy without suffering casualties. This created a tactical opportunity for American assault teams to close with German positions while defenders were disorganized and withdrawing. The weapon had significant limitations. Wind conditions dramatically affected dispersion. Strong winds could carry phosphorus particles back toward American positions. Rain reduced effectiveness by cooling phosphorus particles and accelerating their oxidation, shortening burn duration. Temperature below 0 degrees Celsius, common in the Hürtgen Forest in December, reduced ignition reliability and slowed combustion rates. Manufacturing quality proved inconsistent. The M15's thin steel casing had to be strong enough to withstand launching acceleration, but weak enough to fragment upon impact. Production tolerances at Picatinny Arsenal sometimes resulted in grenades that either detonated prematurely in the barrel, killing the operator, or failed to detonate upon impact. Quality control inspectors rejected approximately 8% of production, but field reports indicated another 3 to 4% of grenades that passed inspection still malfunctioned. The modified Thompson itself suffered mechanical stress. The launching cartridge generated 24,000 psi chamber pressure within the Thompson's design parameters, but at the upper limit. Sustained use, more than 15-20 launches without maintenance, caused barrel throat erosion and receiver stress fractures. Ordnance technicians documented 17 catastrophic Thompson failures between November 18th and December 31st, mostly receiver cracks that rendered weapons unsafe to fire. Enemy countermeasures evolved slowly. German doctrine emphasized holding fortified positions, making tactical withdrawal, the most effective counter to phosphorus weapons, psychologically difficult for troops trained to defend to annihilation. Some units attempted overhead cover with metal sheets or logs to deflect grenades, but the high arc trajectory meant grenades often landed behind fortifications. A few veteran units employed forward observation posts that would call artillery on suspected American launcher positions, but the modified Thompson's effective range, 75 and 80 meters, kept most operators outside German artillery response time. Captured German technical intelligence reports showed confused attempts to understand the weapon. Initial reports described it as a new rifle grenade, then as a specialized mortar, finally correctly identifying it as a modified submachine gun. The December 8th German intelligence summary noted, American forces employed Thompson submachine guns, modified to launch incendiary grenades at extended range. Grenades contain white phosphorus compound, creating intense thermal effect and persistent fires. Conventional defensive measures prove inadequate. Recommend immediate evacuation of positions upon white smoke appearance. By late December, German defenders in the Hürtgen Forest showed clear behavioral changes when facing units with modified Thompsons. Bunker garrisons increasingly abandoned positions after initial phosphorus attacks rather than attempting to defend. This tactical victory, forcing German withdrawal without close combat, validated the weapon's design philosophy. American infantry no longer needed to close to hand grenade range, exposing themselves to point-blank machine gun fire. They could suppress and clear bunkers from relative safety, reducing casualties while maintaining offensive momentum. The Hürtgen Forest campaign officially ended December 16, 1944, not because American forces achieved decisive victory, but because German forces launched the Ardennes offensive, forcing redeployment of American units to counter the breakthrough. By that date, American casualties in the Hürtgen exceeded $33,000, killed, wounded, captured, or missing. German casualties were comparably devastating, approximately 28,000, including 9,000 prisoners. Mitchell's unit, what remained of it, was pulled from the line December 12th. His squad had entered the forest November 14th with 9 men. 4 walked out. Mitchell carried his modified Thompson and 7 unused M15 grenades. He'd fired 17 grenades in combat over 28 days, directly participating in clearing 11 German bunker positions. His after-action estimates credited those engagements with 40 to 60 enemy casualties and 0 friendly losses during Phosphorus employment. The modified Thompson M15 combination saw limited use after the Hürtgen campaign. Units redeploying to the Ardennes to counter German breakthrough brought their weapons but found open terrain combat offered few opportunities for employment. The weapon was optimized for bunker suppression at medium range, not the fluid mobile warfare of the Battle of the Bulge. Some units used phosphorus grenades for illumination and smoke screening, but the combination's lethality wasn't tactically relevant in fast-moving armor engagements. Production ceased January 15, 1945. Final totals: 1,293 modified Thompsons produced at Springfield Armory, 47,392 M15 white phosphorus grenades manufactured at Picatinny Arsenal. Distribution extended to Pacific Theater units preparing for invasion of Japan, where bunker warfare was expected to be intensive, but the atomic bombs and subsequent Japanese surrender made deployment unnecessary. The weapon was immediately classified secret upon VE Day, May 8, 1945. Existing modified Thompsons were collected and stored at ordnance depots. Most M15 grenades were expended during training exercises or demilitarized. White phosphorus was too dangerous for long-term storage due to spontaneous ignition risks. The Thompson modifications were quietly removed, and weapons returned to standard configuration. Declassification didn't occur until March 1973, and even then, detailed technical documentation remained restricted. The Pentagon was sensitive about incendiary weapons following international controversy over napalm use in Vietnam. White phosphorus occupied a legal gray area, technically an incendiary weapon, but also classified as a smoke-caused illumination device, exempt from certain international restrictions on incendiary weapons. Modern white phosphorus munitions evolved considerably from the M15. Today's M825 155mm artillery round delivers white phosphorus more precisely at longer ranges, with better dispersion characteristics and improved safety margins. The basic chemistry remains identical. White phosphorus combusting at 2,160 degrees Celsius, but delivery systems advanced from hand-thrown grenades to precision-guided artillery. The tactical innovation, launching grenades from individual weapons for extended range, influenced modern development of rifle-launched grenades and under-barrel grenade launchers. The M203 40mm grenade launcher, introduced in Vietnam and still in service today, directly descends from the concept Mitchell employed in the Hürtgen Forest. Give individual infantrymen the ability to suppress hardened positions without requiring fire support coordination. Total American casualties from friendly fire phosphorus incidents remained classified until 1998. 41 wounded, 13 killed, all between November 18, 1944, and January 15, 1945. German casualties from phosphorus weapons were never comprehensively documented. Battlefield recovery in the Hürtgen Forest was incomplete, and many phosphorus casualties burned beyond identification. Staff Sergeant James Mitchell returned to civilian life in November 1945. He worked as a machinist in Detroit, married, raised 3 children, and never spoke publicly about the Hürtgen Forest. His service records, declassified in 1999, documented his role in developing and employing the modified Thompson tactics. He received no special recognition during his lifetime. The weapons classification meant his actions couldn't be publicly acknowledged. Mitchell died in February 2003, age 80, from complications related to chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. His medical records showed lung scarring consistent with exposure to phosphorus smoke, though the connection couldn't be definitively proven 6 decades after exposure. His obituary in the Detroit Free Press mentioned his World War II service without specifics. James Mitchell, 80, W-2T veteran, survived the Hürtgen Forest campaign. Sergeant First Class Anthony Rizzo, who developed the initial modification concept, received the Legion of Merit in July 1945 for exceptionally meritorious conduct in the performance of outstanding services. The citation was deliberately vague, mentioning technical innovations that significantly reduced friendly casualties in close-quarters combat. Rizzo remained in the Army, retiring as a Master Sergeant in 1962. He died in 1987. Of the 1,893 modified Thompsons produced, only 3 are known to exist today. 2 are in U.S. Army Ordnance museums, displayed without the grenade launcher modification. The weapons were restored to standard configuration before museum accession. The 3rd is in private hands, purchased as war surplus in 1958 before the weapon's special history was recognized. Its current location is undisclosed. The men who faced Weiser Tod, White Death, left scattered accounts in German unit histories and veteran memoirs. Obergefreiter Hans Wegener, 275th Infantry Division, wrote in his unpublished memoir, "We feared the white smoke more than artillery. Artillery killed you instantly, or didn't. The phosphorus burned slowly, gave you time to understand you were dying. We learned to run when we saw the smoke. Orders be damned. Better court-martial than burning alive." The Hürtgen Forest today is peaceful, replanted, green, marked by monuments and preserved bunkers. Visitors walk trails through the same terrain where Mitchell fired his first phosphorus grenade. The forest floor still yields occasional artifacts: rusted weapons, shell casings, personal effects. Occasionally, workers find phosphorus residue in the soil, white powder that ignites spontaneously when disturbed, a reminder that some fires burn for decades. The modified Thompson submachine gun and M15 white phosphorus grenade existed as a weapon system for exactly 59 days, November 18, 1944 to January 15, 1945. In that brief operational window, it represented a fundamental tactical innovation, giving individual infantrymen the ability to suppress hardened positions without artillery support, reducing casualties while maintaining offensive capability. The weapon was crude, dangerous, and terrifyingly effective. But beyond the technical specifications and tactical statistics, the weapon represented desperate innovation in desperate circumstances. Men like Mitchell and Rizzo found solutions to problems that were killing their friends. They didn't have time for extensive testing or formal approval processes. They had wooden crates of experimental grenades and orders to take forests that were swallowing entire divisions. If this story matters to you, if you believe in remembering the innovation and sacrifice that shaped modern military technology, hit that like button. Subscribe so you never miss these stories. Turn on notifications because we're covering forgotten weapons, classified operations, and the soldiers who made history one desperate innovation at a time. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from, or if you had family who served in the Hürtgen Forest. These stories need to be told, and your engagement helps us tell them. Staff Sergeant James Mitchell never received recognition for what he did in that frozen crater on November 18, 1944. He never wanted recognition. He wanted to survive, wanted his men to survive, wanted the forest to stop killing them. He found a weapon that worked, and he used it. 79 years later, we remember. We remember the fire that couldn't be extinguished, the white smoke that meant death, and the men who carried it forward into darkness. They called it White Death. We call it courage.